Well, the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle has been serving the Seattle community for 90 years. We celebrated our 90th anniversary during our COVID days back in November. And in that service to community, we focus on key areas to put us on a path of economic self-sufficiency through workforce development, housing, training programs, educational programming, and just supporting and advocating for our community wherever needed. I've had the privilege of being a part of the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle for 6 years now, and serving as the CEO for three. And in the last 3 years, man, our programming has grown tremendously to support our community in all of those key areas. And we're just excited about doing the work and representing community. When I joined the organization back in 2015, there was 12 of us. Now we have over 75 connected to community and just doing the work needed to support us.
All right. All right. Good stuff. Also, this is my first time talking to you in quite some time. So I wanted to pass along my condolences because I know that you lost your father earlier this year. Really around the same time, a lot of things were happening here in the community. So it's belated, but definitely want to offer our condolences.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. So, all right. Well, the elephant is in the room, so to speak here. It's lots of questions definitely up there on 23rd in Massachusetts, the Urban League Village, the apartments there, the Northwest African American Museum that's there. And really for me, if I could, although Omari Tahir's occupation of the space precludes the events there or precedes the events there in February. If I could ask you a few questions about the shooting that occurred in February, and then also what's going on now, and then also what your future plans are. I think one of the biggest questions that I have for you, ma'am, is that the Urban League, when Anais Valencia was unfortunately murdered up there at Urban League Village, and the Urban League was the one people that we couldn't get a hold of. That we heard nothing from. There was even this coastal property people. They put out a press release. Everybody else made themselves visible. We were really looking for some answers from the Urban League. I mean, I don't think clearly the Urban League didn't kill anybody. That wasn't the issue, but it's you guys as the property actual owners. No one was available.
Yeah, I think I'll take ownership for that. I was out, my father died literally days before that, and I was out. And so, unfortunately, no one really knew how to respond. I think we put out a statement later, probably later than we should. But we certainly were communicating with our residents and, of course, our property manager as well. And those that were involved, but I'll take ownership for that. I wasn't there, and I think folks just didn't know how to respond other than doing what we do best in supporting those that were involved.
Right. And just one or two more questions about the actual apartments. Sure. People who live up there. One of the things that we heard was with this coastal management, and actually in researching with them and everything else, is the Urban League Village doesn't necessarily fit the profile of all the other properties that they have. And that, just kind of getting to the point that this is a white property management company from the east side, where a lot of the residents say that the employees of the property management company aren't very culturally responsive, culturally, whatever. It's just it really just seemed like an awkward fit for a layman. I don't own a building and I don't deal with property management companies, but looking at that relationship between the Urban League and the property management company, and also talking to residents there in the building, it just seemed a bit problematic is the feedback that we got. But I wanted to throw it out there to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll say this. When I joined the organization, we had a different property management company. That company was absorbed by Coast, I want to say sometime in 2019. And we just have gone on with that. We haven't had the opportunity to dig deeper, to make any changes. Of course, last year was a tough year for all of us. We were focused on doing the work needed to support community, and we just haven't had the opportunity to dig any deeper, and didn't stop the process. And then when all of this started, it was even harder to build a relationship or make any changes or see what was happening. But we certainly hear the feedback of all the residents, and will do further investigation and review from there. But our first priority is to our residents for certain. But things changed. The organization that we had managing the company was purchased, and we just haven't had the opportunity to make any further deeper investigation or changes.
Right. And how involved, just so the public knows, how involved or uninvolved, but how involved is the Urban League with that actual property? You know, there's lots of people who own property in this
Right.
city, individuals and organizations. Some are very so hand-on, they're there every day, and others are like, hey, this is why we hired this company to do X, Y, and Z. Kind of where does Urban League as an organization fit into as far as how hands-on or hands-off you are at Urban League Village?
To be honest, prior to last year, we were pretty hands off. It was pretty quiet. So when they had vacancies, we would promote those. But it was pretty quiet, and we had a decent relationship with the property managers and really didn't need to be involved. And then the building is kind of split up in two, I'll say, condo units, so to speak, and the museum is on the bottom, and they have full control over what happens on that bottom unit. And then we have a property manager to manage the top. So until last year, we did not have a whole lot to do other than promoting the vacancies. And then last year, when COVID hit, we reached out to those residents to see what their needs were and try to support them and build relationship, because that was important to me. And now we try, and we do everything we can to stay in communication and contact with them, and just be better landlords and partners and neighbors to those folks that live there and call the Urban League Village home.
Okay. Wanted to turn attention a bit here to the occupation occurring. It's still occurring, I guess, in a different format now. But the occupation, June 9th, Juneteenth will make 1 year since Omari Tahir Garrett and the African American Heritage and Cultural Center group have been occupying the space one way or another there out in front of the Northwest African American Museum. What's your position on this?
Our position is that he's there unlawfully. We, back in June, July, August of September of last year, we did everything that we could to identify and communicate with him and find out how we can build community and work with him on getting him someplace safer. I just don't think that living outside in front of a building is safe for him, especially during COVID. But that didn't work, and so we did proceed with going to the courts. And the courts in April 20th agreed with us that we are the rightful owners of the building and that he needed to leave. Further, again, we listened to our residents, and they felt, many of them felt safe and threatened by Mr. Garrett and the folks that were there, that are there as well. And so we have to do everything that we can to protect the people that call the Urban League Village home.
Right. Now, one of a few of the things, and I don't know if you saw this interview, interviewed Omari, the long interview was like 40 minutes, right? And so there was a few things that he touched on in that interview that I want to talk to you about. Sure. Is who owns the building? Does the Urban League own the building?
We do. We've owned the building since around 2001. We have a deed that is filed with the state, and a deed in good standing. And so therefore, we do own the building, and we, again, took it to the court. We demonstrated our ownership. Mr. Garrett had the opportunity to do the same, and he does not have a deed um, to the property. So we do own the building, uh, free, not free and clear, of course, but we own the building and we have the deed that's filed with the state.
All right. Thanks so much, Michelle, for being here today. I probably have a litany of questions and some I won't even probably have time for. But I do want to ask, while we're talking about the occupation, what is Urban League actually doing? As you guys have heard about, what is there. And I think it goes back to the original occupation of the Coleman School building and what the community was really hoping the museum would be, which is this cultural hub. And unfortunately, what a lot of people feel like is that it's showcasing some kind of culture, but not for everybody. It doesn't feel inclusive in that regard. How can the Urban League work with NAAM staff to really understand some of the dynamics of Omari Tahir Garrett's actual occupation here, which is saying, hey, we wanted a real cultural center that was going to provide opportunities for youth with regard to a recording studio, a fashion center, stuff that really brings youth in and gets them off of the streets and away from this gun violence.
I agree with you 100% that all of that is needed. I think that the folks at NAAM, Lanisha, and all of the people at NAAM are open to conversation about what NAAM can do and do better. I am certainly open to helping the community, do all we can to either find space to make that happen someplace else or work with NAAM to enhance the programming that they do now. I will say that I think Lanisha has been there, I want to say about 3 years as well, and that she's been doing all that she can to enhance the programming there as well. I mean, I think, from the time I got here to now, it is a very different museum. And I think that she's done a lot to make it better. Is it perfect? That's certainly debatable, and I don't know that anything is, but I do know that she's open to listening and having respectful, genuine conversation. And I think that she and folks at NAAM have tried to do that over the last year, certainly to no avail.
Oh, well, I now want to kind of pivot a little bit because you were talking about Lanisha being in that position for about 3 years. You've been at Urban League for about 3 years. And I know when you came here to Seattle and, got the job with Urban League and like in bed with the community, right away, you could probably sense that there was some, I don't know if it's conflict we want to call it, but some type of gap, right? Where it's almost as if there are some organizations that seem to be kind of playing in a gatekeeper fashion. And I think that, Urban League was called out very publicly through, community comment and, community kind of coming together to kind of voice their concern around that. And then, there was a need to maybe bridge the gap. What do you feel that you have done in your role in these 3 years to try to resolve some of the things that you may have stepped into, maybe even unknowingly?
Certainly unknowingly. Well, I'll say this. I had been there 3 years prior, so I'm certainly aware of some of it. And I think my goal is just to be a good partner and to listen to community and provide the resources that I can get to bring to community, and that everyone we hire within the Urban League are Black folks and other people of color that care, that have lived experiences in the work that we're trying to do, and just be a part of community, show up where we are, and just be genuine, authentic, care. Don't ever assume that we're better than or more than or any of that. And then lift up and uplift and partner with those organizations that feel like they haven't been seen, heard, valued, appreciated, and make sure that they get that opportunity from where I sit, right? And I don't know that I have the power to do all of it or to solve all the problems, but I certainly do all that I can to make sure that the Urban League is a good partner and a good part of the Seattle community.
Right. Well, because I think excuse me, one of the things is that the Urban League, is one of these one of the Black organizations, and in most cases the NAACP here as well, where they have a default seat at the table. When a lot of these big things happen and occur, whether it's the mayor wanting to put together a task force or the governor's doing this and that, because of the longevity of the organizations and reputation and everything else, there's a default seat at the table. With that default seat at the table also comes with responsibility as well, because that default seat means that you're also representing individuals, but also other organizations that are doing good work, but they're not recognized to that seat at the table. The Urban League is. And so I just wanted, I guess, layer on top of Treyana's question here, but in a different way, is how intentional is the Urban League in realizing that a lot of times that default seat is there, and knowing that you're responsible and accountable for other people who you might not even confer with. They might not be part of the Urban League. You might not go to their meetings, but, in our community as a totality.
My goal is to either make space for them at the table or give up my seat so they can be at that table. And I've done that a time or two, or three or four, to make sure that those organizations have a seat at the table. Either I call them and say, this meeting is happening, can you get here? As soon as I hear about it, or, even at the state level saying, the Urban League is at a lot of tables, it's time to make space for somebody else. So that's just my way, my genuine way, and care for the people that I come from, I represent. It's, for me, the Urban League is just my conduit to supporting my people, and I think it's a good one. I think, like you said, it has a longevity, and I think that we as community can certainly use that to our advantage, because I do recognize the privilege that I get at some of these tables, just because the Urban League name and brand. And I hope that when I get to sit at that table, I'm making space for somebody else. If I can't at that moment, that I'm elevating their voices and concerns and needs, so that when the time comes up for increasing that table, that I can get more of us in there. If I'm the only one, I won't be the only one for long. That is for certain. And if I am the only one, I'm going to make sure that I am echoing the voices of the community.
All right. Just a few more questions that I had over here, ma'am. And just wanted to circle back to the tragic incidents that occurred there in February at the building there in NAAM. People are, and even coastal the management company was very aware. They said that they hired Greg Taylor. In a release, they said they hired him to clean up the property and everything else. When we talked to residents over there, residents said that they made Coastal as well as the Urban League aware that they had issues there with Greg Taylor, and the police have been called several times and responded there, paramedics. There was reports of him pulling out his gun on people there before and arguing and everything else. Like I said, Coastal said they had a relationship with him, and whether they acted or didn't act on other complaints or anything else, is it still the Urban League's position that you guys didn't know who Greg Taylor was, or wasn't aware that he was a problem there, or was reported as a problem in the building?
I did receive one complaint from a resident, and that was dealt with. Nobody could have predicted the situation that happened, the unfortunate tragic loss. But when I receive, when we, because they don't always come to me, receive issues or complaints from the residents, we certainly deal with them as best as we can and in a timely manner. I would also say that when people are dealing with mental illnesses and challenges and problems, we can't turn our backs on them. And so we did offer our support and our help and try to do things. And I imagine that Coast did too. And that is why they hired him. And again, no one could have predicted what happened that night. And I hate that it came to that. And hindsight being 2020, sure, he probably should have been removed from his job, but that was also his residence. So I think, looking back, folks are asking us to evict someone and that had a mental illness and likely put him on the street. So that would cause even more challenges. So, and this is all, thinking after the fact, but to answer your question, I was made aware of one incident. We did bring it up, and it was, to my knowledge, managed by Coast, and then this incident occurred.
Ma'am, what's the very near future here looking like for this building for Urban League Village? I don't know if you're in communication with NAAM as far as their plans to actually open back up the building, but then also I'll give you some space as well as what's in the short-term future for the Urban League itself, and what are you guys doing as far as COVID recovery?
Thank you. Well, I will say NAAM would love to open as soon as it is safe to do so. They do have programming planned and things planned for now and for the future. So I hope that you, if you have not had, you invite their team on to discuss their programming. As far as the occupation, I hope that we can come to some resolution because we all are a part of the same community and want the same things for our friends and neighbors. And I think that is possible. We just all have to be open and willing to listen and lean in and do what's best for the folks that call Seattle home, and especially call that museum home. And as far as the work of the Urban League, we're doing amazing work. As you guys started leading out, we're doing COVID vaccine clinics all over the city. We're partnering with the city on the major sites as well and getting folks vaccinated. We have some fantastic programming, especially for our youth. I'll highlight one where we're helping Black-owned businesses build websites with our young people. And I can go on forever. Rental assistance, workforce development programming, helping people purchase homes, all of that. And so we have a lot going on. A lot of positive, great things to support our community, and I hope that that counts too.
Right. Did you have any other questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes when you're just listing out the programming, my question is how do people get plugged in? Because maybe people don't know, or maybe with COVID, maybe there's a miss in information. But how do people get plugged in?
Thank you. They can go to our website, urbanleague.org. How we got urbanleague.org, I have no idea, but that is our website. We're on all the social channels at SEA Urban League. And then our office has never been closed. They can also come visit us on 14th and Yesler if they need any type of assistance or looking for a job as well. So 14th and Yesler is where our building is.
Right. And just to circle back around here, because ultimately in the community we want to be able to ideally, and everybody's not supposed to get along. It's just, they're just not supposed to harm each other either. But people don't have to agree. But you're saying that you don't have any problem having any discussion with Omari Tahir Garrett or that group over there to further conversation around this issue?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We started out in the last summer and fall in conversation. It just did not did not yield any results. And so we will continue that, but we ask that that conversation not take place in an occupation in front of the building, that we can continue as community to build and figure out and strategize how we can help his vision come to light. But, just keep community safe and not threaten the lives of the residents or the people that are doing the work.
All right, Michelle Merriweather, CEO of the Urban League Metropolitan Seattle. Thank you for taking time this morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Urban League.
Yeah.
The thing is well, there's a few things that have bothered me, but like one of the things definitely was the silence, the deafening silence around the murder of Anais Valencia up there. I mean, the buck stopped with her. She said it was my fault. It was 100%. I didn't say anything. My dad died. I was out of town. We didn't do what we were supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that kind of struck me just listening was, as Urban League has grown even in staff, as she said, starting out with like maybe 12 folks when she joined and now being up to 75 for Seattle. I was thinking, well, who else could have stepped in? But also too, I think for me, so much of it is when you're representing a community that is very small in Seattle. We're talking about just being transparent and being open. Any of the staff members should have been able to be like, this is how I feel about this. I know I work for Urban League, but I think that's what a lot of folks were looking for at that point.
I mean, just statement.
Yeah.
Not necessarily anything legal or anything, or whatever, but just the actual statement of like, man, this is crazy, because everybody was looking. Me, Justin Carter, Mike Davis, Hannah Scott. These are all different journalists. You know what I'm saying? That are looking for it. She's the CEO of the organization. She's taking responsibility for it. Says the buck stops with her. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the structure of their organization might be, if the CEO doesn't say that it goes out, it goes out. I agree. You know what I'm saying? But I think the one of the larger issues here today, and addressing this is like, it is, the Urban League has a very big seat at almost every table in here. When people are like, we need to go talk to the blacks, you know what I'm saying? And they put their need to go talk to the blacks list up on the whiteboard. Urban League's always there. You know what I'm saying? It's fine, but that's a default seat as well. And there's a lot of responsibility to the larger community as a whole, because of like this default seat oftentimes is given to an organization like the Urban League. And as far as this situation here with Omari Tahir Garrett, what are your thoughts on her statements?
I think that if all of that is true, not saying it's not, but for me it's like there can be maybe some resolution here. I think for the occupation, it's very clear from their perspective that they want that building. It's not about moving programming somewhere else. Having the longest occupation of a public building in the nation right there at the Coleman School, their whole agenda is really making it what they were there all those years to try to push through for community. And lastly, kind of on this, I'll say that when you're talking about the seats at the table, we have talked about it from a political perspective oftentimes right here on Converge and on the Morning Update show, about how the decline of Black community has been in the hands of Democrats. They've been running this state for so long. But I think that it's the same when we start really breaking down, when they say we want to talk to the Blacks and who they're talking to, how come we haven't actually seen material gains for Black community? And ultimately, I think it is a part of the birth of so many other organizations who have said, well, things are not happening in our community. We have to take ownership of it. We have to do it ourselves. So, again, I think that there's a lot that can be done here, kind of across. When she said, hey, we want to bring other people to the table, I think there's a lot of folks that can really speak to that.
Right. I think there's something else that's occurred here, is that there's finally an open line of communication between Converge and the Urban League, which also means that, and from all touch points around this, we can stay on top of these different situations here. Like I want to talk to people from Coast, because the residents said that they made a lot of complaints about Greg Taylor. Now, does that property management company, do they relay these, whatever their protocol is, back to like say the Urban League or anybody who owns a building? That's why you hire the property management company. Maybe they did, maybe they did not, but they got a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And we really want to follow up on that. Because people really need answers up there. That was such a tragic event that happened up there. Then also we're gonna stay on top of this situation here, this occupation that's still occurring over there at the Northwest African American Museum. You know what I'm saying? The Urban League finds itself in the middle of two real heavy situations, all at the same physical address.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that, Michelle was on here to kind of answer some of those questions, and really, give their perspective. I mean, like you said, I feel like there's more, and that's what I said even to her. Like, I have so many questions,
a lot of questions.
so many questions, and probably just not enough time.